FBI has just discovered over 2,000 secret files connected to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Now, the discovery comes 61 years after his death, but just weeks after President Trump issued an executive order demanding the release of all documents tied to the assassinations of JFK, Robert F. Kennedy, and Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Madeline Rivera is live from Washington with more. Madeline.
Good morning, Emily. There are continued calls for transparency more than 60 years after the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy. So the FBI started a search after President Trump ordered the declassification of all files related to the assassinations of JFK, Robert F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr. During that search, the agency found approximately 2,400 newly inventoried and digitized records that were previously unrecognized as related to the JFK assassination case file. Under the JFK Records Act of 1992, all documents related to the killing of JFK should have been transferred to the National Archives and released to the public by October 2017. President Trump in his first term and former President Biden both authorized a limited release of these records. And again, we're going to know more about these records sometime soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It is time for the release of the Epstein files, the JFK assassination files, the MLK assassination files. The darkest secrets of our federal government will be exposed, and we are totally and completely here for it. In just moments, Anna Paulina Luna, representatives regularly on our show, and James Comer will be doing an announcement about a brand new committee that will be tasked with the muscular subpoenaing and total declassification of some of the greatest secrets that have been kept from the American people. Ladies and gentlemen, this is supposed to go live at 3 p.m. Now, that's exactly 1 minute from now. So we'll bring you live to the actual press conference as soon as it starts, and I'm sure that we'll see so many interesting questions from the press. I look forward to all of the questions about why Democrats have been hiding the Epstein list for the better part of the last 20 years. An important reminder for your history books, it was one single man who worked with the authorities in order to lock up Jeffrey Epstein in the single case that he actually caught before being killed in his jail cell by Hillary Clinton in the dark of night through strangulation. Jeffrey Epstein was convicted on predator charges, sex trafficking, underage prostitution in Palm Beach. You might remember West Palm Beach is the place where Donald Trump lives. The only celebrity or even member of the entire Palm Beach community that testified against Jeffrey Epstein was Donald Trump. Long before President Trump became president, before he'd even announced that he was going to run, President Trump had this to say about Bill Clinton. The guy's always known, man. He's always known. He said this about an individual who attended Donald Trump's wedding to Melania back when President Trump was a Democrat donor from New York, and the Democrat senator from New York, Hillary Clinton, graced Donald Trump with her presence at the wedding. Donald Trump had this to say about Bill.
Bill Clinton. Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
Ooh. Sean Hannity moving along very quickly from that topic. It wasn't sanctioned at the time. You weren't allowed to talk about that kind of thing on Fox News. But here is Fox News today saying flight logs show that Bill Clinton flew to sex offenders jet much more than previously known. Bill Clinton, 27 different trips on the Lolita Express. And now with the small tranche of declassification of the Epstein documents that we received approximately 1 year ago, Jeffrey Epstein saying that Bill Clinton likes him young. and various victims of Jeffrey Epstein testifying that Bill Clinton was a regular on the island. Ooh, my. An important reminder that the feds, specifically the FBI, raided Little St. James, and they were able to hoover up terabytes of information about Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein had many little hidden cameras all over that island, including, but not limited to, cameras inside of the bedrooms where his VIP guests stayed. This was not exclusive to Little St. James. This also happened. Okay, I'm getting a 2-minute warning here. Okay, so the press conference will commence soon. In Epstein's properties in New Mexico and in Manhattan. Maybe this is why Bill Clinton is so nervous when you ask him about Jeffrey Epstein.
Any comments on the alleged allegation of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein? No.
I think the evidence is clear. Look at this. Look at this look that Bill Clinton gives that young little independent journalist there, who ever so politely asked him about the allegations of his longtime best friend, Jeffrey Epstein, the foremost pederast on earth. Now, at the exact same time that Congresswoman Paulina Luna and James Comer are saying that they are going to be releasing the Epstein list, along with multiple other secrets, Glenn Beck, who is a close friend and ally of the administration, knows a lot of key figures, said this on the PBD podcast this morning.
About is the scandal of the pedophiles, and in the next 10 days, you're going to see the Epstein file released.
In the next 10 days?
Next 10 days.
Oh,
Yep.
please.
You think in the next 10 days the whole thing's going to be released?
Yeah.
And what kind of information do you have to be able to be that certain about it?
I plead the fifth.
In the next 10 days?
The next 10 days.
Oh,
Glenn,
please.
Yeah.
stop it.
Next 10 days.
You're
I'm telling
teasing millions who want that list.
Day number 1, Kash Patel walks in. By the end of the day, it will be released.
Oh, please.
Did Kash Patel get confirmed yet?
Not yet. They
Not
delayed
yet.
it.
And did RFK get confirmed yet?
Not yet.
Tulsi?
None of them, though.
House, not Senate. Yeah.
So as soon as he's confirmed, his first day, it will be released.
Oh,
So this is Glenn Beck saying that, and, well, because we watch our social media very closely, when we posted this clip a couple of minutes ago, one of the first people to like it was Kash Patel. So in case you're wondering if Kash Patel agrees with what Glenn Beck is saying here, look no further, ladies and gentlemen, than our X timeline. So there seems to be some real cover-up happening here. Obviously, we understand why. Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We have a live press conference happening right now. James Comer and Anna Paulina Luna live right now.
Thank you all for being here. Today is a great day for transparency in America because today I'm proud to announce the creation of the Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets. This task force will be a part of the House Oversight Committee and led by the very talented and persistent Congresswoman from Florida, Anna Paulina Luna. During her time on the Oversight Committee, Representative Luna is a sledgehammer against government secrecy. She is committed to throwing open the windows for the American people to allow the sunlight of truth shine on the federal government. I can think of no better person in Congress to lead this task force than Representative Luna. Last month, President Trump signed an executive order to begin the process to declassify information on the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and MLK. This task force serves to build on President Trump's actions. For far too long, the American people have had reasonable questions of what their government, which they fund every day, keeps hidden about certain issues. And for far too long, the federal government has not answered these questions. This creates distrust in our institutions. That ends today. The voters of this nation delivered a historic mandate to President Trump on November 5th. The keystone of that mandate was demanding increased transparency of their government and elected leaders, and the mandate of this task force is to acquire that transparency. We will open this up for questions from the media, but first I'd like to hand it over to my esteemed colleague and chairman of the new task force, Congresswoman Luna, for her remarks.
Thank you, Chairman Comer.
When our founding fathers stood against tyranny, they did not merely oppose taxes. They defended the sacred idea of individual sovereignty. They declared that no government, agency, or title could infringe upon the freedoms of speech, religion, thought, and the pursuit of truth. For too long, the American spirit has been dimmed by a veil of secrecy, by a government that has grown too comfortable in the shadows, denying us the transparency we deserve. But today, we stand at the dawn of a new era where the light of truth begins to shine through. A few weeks ago, President Donald Trump made a historic announcement. With the stroke of a pen, he committed to declassifying the files concerning the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a decision not just monumental, but pivotal. It is with profound honor that I have been entrusted by Speaker Mike Johnson and Chairman James Comer to lead the House Oversight Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets. Together with the help of the White House, our intelligence allies, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, we will be conducting investigations into the following: the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and Dr. Martin Luther King, unidentified aerial phenomena, also known as UAPs, unidentified submerged objects, also known as USOs, the Epstein client list, the origins of COVID-19, and the 9/11 files. This task force will be a beacon of bipartisanship. On the Republican side, Representatives Burchett, Boebert, Burleson, Crane, Gill, and Mace will be joining me, although I'd like to note that I'm expanding this to the entire governing body and will be allowing certain members to waive on. Our first hearing is set for March. The date will be announced soon, and we've already initiated close to a dozen communications with various agencies, to include Pam Bondi at the Department of Justice and the Secretary of State. This will no longer be a task force that makes bold promises only to fade into irrelevance or send strongly worded letters. This will be a relentless pursuit of truth and transparency, and we will not stop until the American people have the answers they deserve. We will cut through the bureaucracy, challenge the stonewalling, and ensure that the American people finally get the truth that they have been denied for too long. If we are to endure and thrive as a nation, we must restore trust through transparency. The American people must be trusted to think for themselves, to form their own judgments from the truth that they are entitled to know. We've been treated like children for too long and kept in the dark by those we elected to serve us. It is my solemn duty to begin mending this trust, to form a new relationship between the government and the governed. Let us embark on this journey together towards a government that does not serve, but one that enlightens. That does not just serve, but one that enlightens. Trust through transparency, that begins now. Without further ado, we'd like to open it up for questions, as I'm sure many of you have those. Hands up.
Thank you, ma'am. Obviously, your goals are aligned with the administration's on the declassification of Martin Luther King and the Kennedys. How would you handle if you end up, whether it's President Trump or Attorney General Bondi or DNI Gabbard, if they disagree with what you're looking to declassify on a certain topic, whether it's UAPs or 9/11 or something like that? How would you handle if there's some stuff that they don't necessarily want to declassify?
Well, certainly, I think that they'd be supportive, being that they're advocating for this. But also, I want to remind the American people that this is bipartisan. There's also Democrats that are looking into answering these very questions. But certainly, we would share that information with the American people. This is about transparency. And I think, again, as I stated, for far too long, there's been a massive push to keep the American people in the dark, and that ends today.
Do you have subpoena power?
Chairman?
The task force does not have subpoena power. I do. The task force is going to be subsidiary of the full oversight committee. So if we have to issue one, Congresswoman Luna, we'll discuss it and we'll take appropriate action.
But in full transparency, we have a great working relationship, as I stated earlier, with the White House, with the DOJ, with the Secretary of Defense, and the Secretary of State. The incoming FBI director, I think, will be very supportive, and we've also been told that the CIA director is very supportive. To put it in perspective, I think that this issue transcends not just one administration, but multiple administrations, and it hasn't been until now that we've been able to get people actually in positions of power that will push for transparency. Now, if I find that different entities in the various intelligence agencies are stonewalling us, I'm going to make that known to the American people. But as of right now, we are cautiously optimistic.
What's your priority list? Because Epstein 9/11?
Our first investigation will be announced, but it's going to be covering on a thorough investigation into the John F. Kennedy assassination. And I can tell you, based on what I've been seeing so far, the initial hearing that was actually held here in Congress was actually faulty in the single bullet theory. I believe that there were 2 shooters, and we should be finding more information as we are able to gain access into the SCIF, hopefully before the files are actually released to the public.
Thank you for doing this. Have you identified the Democrats who will sit on the task force, and could you talk a little bit more about the role of Democrats in this?
Yeah, so again, this is a bipartisan commission. Remember, JFK was a Democrat, RFK was a Democrat, and I'm sure that I think the entire conference has a question on what actually happened with Dr. Martin Luther King, but also UAPs. You guys know that that was the biggest bipartisan bicameral hearing that we've ever had, I think, in congressional history. I do not know who their members are yet. They've noticed it, but they're taking this very seriously. This is not a conspiracy theory investigating committee. We're actually looking to present truth to the American people. And it's in my opinion that no one person elected to office is more important or more qualified to look at the information that they've been hiding from us. And so we look to push for that transparency.
What sort of witnesses will you expect to have at your hearings? I know you said the first one's in March. That be department heads, former employees of various agencies.
Would you like to jump in? Yeah, I was going to say, based on what we're actually looking to do with the JFK investigation, I'm looking to actually bring in some of the attending physicians at the initial assassination, and then also people that had been on the various commissions looking into, like the Warren Commission looking into the initial assassinations. There's been conflicting evidence, and I think that even the FBI at the time reported some anomalies in the initial autopsy at Bethesda, Maryland. All of those, though, seem to have been rinsed and repeated in the media to push a certain narrative that we don't agree with. And so I think that in order to put to bed some of the theories that have been out there on John F. Kennedy, we have to know the full truth. And the full truth starts with transparency. And that's why these files is so important for the American people to read for themselves.
With this task force, what are you hoping to uncover as far as UAPs that you have not already heard from other UAP hearings?
The biggest information problems that we've had with UAPs is the amount of stonewalling, stovepiping, and also it seems that there is this push to gaslight the American people into looking at the evidence and then not fully believing it. I think for us, if we're writing the budget, for example, into the Pentagon, if we're writing the budget overall for whatever programs might be out there, why is it that members of Congress who are given a top secret security clearance are being denied access? That's not a free and true government. And so for us, especially being that we have now a Secretary of State who's actually open to declassification and Marco Rubio, we're hoping to present that information and at least acknowledge it from a government perspective that we are not alone, but also let's see what the evidence is.
Thank you. Have you already been in contact with or started to send requests to these different agencies and federal departments for this information?
Yes. In fact, the letters went out this morning, not just on RFK, JFK, and MLK, but on everything that I had listed above to include UAPs, Epstein, and 9/11 and COVID, to the State Department, Department of Defense, CIA, and then also we'll be sending some to the FBI, and letters have also gone out to the NSA.
How is this going to be different than the House Select Committee on Assassinations, which did investigate both the John F. Kennedy assassination and the King assassination?
Well, what's interesting on that specific committee is what, to my understanding, when they actually brought in expert witnesses, they weren't actually people that were in attendance to the initial autopsy at Bethesda, but also this is a bigger committee than just the JFK assassinations. We're also expanding into Epstein, COVID origins, 9/11s, and then UAPs and USOs. And so before, where we initially had some of these hearings, this is going to be an encompassing committee that's going to work directly with the White House on information that they're declassifying.
Just to be clear,
Yeah.
you mentioned the Warren, there's the Warren Committee, but also the Select.
Correct. Correct. There's actually 3 different government investigations into the JFK assassination. But again, this committee is expanding not just there, but outwards into other fields. And again, we're working directly with the White House. In previous investigations, they didn't have access to the information that we are going to have access to. And so that's a big deal, especially if you're looking at what truly happened with JFK.
Are you going to get a top secret clearance?
I already have a top secret clearance.
You do?
All members of Congress have a TSCI. The question is do we get SAP access, of which Chairman Comer has been very supportive, and we'll be getting SAP access as well. Okay, 2 more, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Obviously, some of the questions on some of these topics, whether it's Jeffrey Epstein or COVID-19, the the questions are obvious. What specifically, though, are the questions you're looking to get answered with regards to September 11th?
We just want the truth. How much did the CIA know in advance? But also remember, when you have only certain information that's shared with the American people, that's when conspiracy theories happen. And it's in my opinion that conspiracy theories can be detrimental. It doesn't mean that in the last couple of months we haven't been right on a few things. But what I will say is I think that we deserve to give this information to the American people. I don't agree with the stonewalling that's occurred. And also, how do we prevent things like it from happening in the future? And we have to know the full picture, and the American people deserve to know that as well.
Can we expect any collaboration with the Department of Government Efficiency?
I don't know what information DOJ would have, but I would encourage them if they have anything on JFK, Epstein, or anything in between that they bring it to our office immediately. Okay, one more and then we'll wrap it up.
Sheriff Comer, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Your oversight of sanctuary cities. Your city mayor, Eric Adams, stand apart from the other Democrats in that he's cultivating a relationship with President Trump and has been critical of sanctuary laws. And what do you hope to uncover with this hearing?
Well, we have a lot of questions. Some of the people in the mayor's administration have been vocal that they weren't going to comply with federal law, that they were going to continue to act as sanctuary cities. We want to know about coordination and communication they had between the previous administration. How did so many of these illegals get there? Who was paying for it? Who were they communicating with to be able to provide housing and so many other benefits to such a large population of people? Just the basic questions we all have. Who was paying for it? Who was leading the efforts to transport the illegals from wherever their entry point was in the United States to the sanctuary cities? And are the mayors going to comply with federal law now? Are they going to work with Tom Homan and the national security groups in the Trump administration to try to deport the criminal illegals and stop being a sanctuary city?
Do you feel less worried about Eric Adams himself considering his signals?
Worried about what?
Do we feel less worried about Eric Adams?
Eric Adams, I mean, you know, he was one of the first mayors to bring up the crisis situation, the fiscal impact on the city. So I think he would be a very good witness, and we have a lot of questions for him, just like we do the other three mayors. So,
all right, one last question, then we're going to wrap it up. News Nation, let's go.
Can I ask you about your relationship with whistleblowers? Is it going to be the normal process that oversight typically does, or would this be? Are you going to create a separate avenue for the task force?
I mean, we're all about the normal process, but look, if you have information and it's credible, we've always approached it in that I'd like to be the person that does the interviews for it, mainly because, especially with stuff like this, we want to make sure that there's, you know, not bad actors that are pushing false information to create a narrative that's simply not there. And so, you know, every whistleblower that does come forward, as of right now, there's people that have been publicly out there, for example, on the JFK stuff, that were actually present in the room at the operating room where he was actually brought to right after the shooting. So we hope to bring those people in to testify. And again, these hearings will be open to the public. I'm also expanding this to the entire conference. So if someone's going to take this seriously and look at it through an investigative lens and get answers for the American people, they are welcome to ask questions of the witnesses, and you guys will all receive notice of that.
And we'll work with anyone who currently works for the federal government that wants to declare whistleblower status and receive whistleblower protection, if that's what they're interested in doing. And I don't think they're going to face the type of retaliation that the previous administration gave whistleblowers, particularly the IRS whistleblowers that blew the whistle on the cover-up of the Biden family.
And I'd also like to close with this. If you are an independent investigator, we are being told that the FBI has now located thousands of pages of documents that they lost before, specifically relating to JFK. We are going to get through as much as we can. We have a great team of attorneys. We have a great team of investigators looking into this, but it doesn't mean that we won't accept help from the public. And so we will be setting up a place for collection for people to present information. But again, this is about transparency. The government works for us. There have been people, I think, in power for too long that try to silo us and keep us in the dark, but that stops today. You're seeing that same message come out of the White House, out of the CIA, the FBI, and every other agency in between. So we are very happy to have the support of all of those individuals, happy to have the support of Chairman Comer and Speaker Johnson. And if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Oversight Comms, and we'd be happy to answer those at that time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Deep state on life support. Here we go. Anna Polina Luna to lead task force on declassification of JFK assassination. With the focus on a JFK assassination, that Anna Polina Luna, regular guest on this program, says definitely a conspiracy theory, definitely the government assisting in that assassination. This matches the reporting that Tucker Carlson had with the CIA. Let's load that up. I think that's important. That there were multiple shooters. How many times have you heard a member of Congress come out and just be like, yeah, there was a government conspiracy kill our president? And they've kept that information from you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Fox News reporting on this announcement. Let's go. Exclusive, Anna Polina Luna will lead a task force focusing on the Martin Luther King Jr. assassination, JFK, Robert F. Kennedy, along with the Epstein list and UFOs and COVID origins. They are going to be starting with JFK. They're going to be moving to September 11th. There's so many things to learn about September 11th. Very, very dark histories. I think so many people in this country don't actually understand what happened on that day, and it is properly terrifying. According to the government's own documents, did you know that the CIA worked with the Saudi government in order to bring the hijackers into America? They brought them in here legally. They sponsored them. They brought them to America, helped them get flight training lessons. Did you know this? This is according to the government's own documents released from an investigator at Gitmo. Wow. It would be nice to actually get some honesty about the single worst terrorist attack in American history. This is Fox News reporting. Let's go on over to a more credible news source. Biggest Dickus, who says House Oversight announces task force on declassification of federal secrets, led by Anna Polina Luna, 9/11, files Jeffrey Epstein, RFK Jr., MLK assassinations, and the origin of COVID and UFOs. What happens is that when a member of Congress wants a classified document from the federal government, they are able to see that document in a SCIF. This is a secure little trailer where you're not allowed to bring any electronics. You sit there, monitored in this trailer, and some little goon, some Fed with an earpiece in, hands you a little folder, and inside of that folder is a blacked out document. And every single line is like completely inked over. And so this is the Congress's spearhead to end that practice, which of course is the practice of an unelected government that is attempting to usurp oversight. Congress is Article 1 of the Constitution, and they have the right to oversight of the executive branch who's keeping all of these secrets. I want to take one more little detour here into the way that Congress has protected people like Jeffrey Epstein. It was on our program that Marsha Blackburn, a senator from Tennessee, said, I have been trying to get the Senate Judiciary Committee, then run by Dick Durbin, to release the Epstein list. The Senate Judiciary Committee could, of course, subpoena that list, could give it to the members. The Senate has pretty muscular oversight over the FBI. The FBI has terabytes of information hoovered up from Jeffrey Epstein's island and his apartment in Manhattan and his ranch in New Mexico. Jeffrey Epstein, clearly an op, right? Run with the protection of the federal government, but probably by a foreign power. ALX, would you mind grabbing me Matt Gaetz on our program, talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Probably the single most piercing assessment by a member of Congress ever about Epstein. Republicans want to get to the bottom of these predators and pederasts and expose all of them. Obviously, you shouldn't be allowed to do these kind of things. I live in a state, for instance, where it is the death penalty if you harm a child in this manner. A lot of families come to Florida. You want to make sure that if some predator is waiting there at Disney World for your child, that, well, if something awful happens, they're going to get the electric chair or an injection. That is the law in this state. And that law has been passed by Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi has been the foremost champion of making sure that predators are not allowed to operate in the state of Florida, and she's now the top law enforcement official in the country. Pam Bondi is somebody who clearly wants to see this happen. So does Kash Patel. It has only been Democrats who have protected Jeffrey Epstein. A reminder, again, we noted this at the top of the show, that Donald Trump was the only name to come forward and testify against Epstein. in the single case that he caught in Palm Beach for underage sex trafficking. This was in the year 2008. So here's what happened when Dick Durbin was asked about this inside of the United States Senate. He was asked about this by Fox News. Dick Durbin had this to say, very curious here.
Durbin, can I ask you a quick question? Why won't you subpoena Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs?
So who are you?
Hillary Vaughn with Fox.
With Fox, of course. I don't know anything about his flight logs.
But why won't you subpoena them? Why don't you want to know?
I don't even know the issue. I know who Epstein was, but I certainly don't know anything about the issue.
Well, he was charged with sex trafficking, so why don't you want to know who was utilizing his private plane?
Never been raised by anyone.
Well, Senator Blackburn has wanted to subpoena them, and there hasn't been a vote in your committee.
Said a word to me, not a word.
But aren't you curious, like, what high-profile or powerful people might be closeted predators and pedophiles? Doesn't that concern you?
Of course.
So why won't you subpoena them if you can?
It's the first time anyone has raised it. Thank you, Fox.
So are you curious about it? Will you do it?
Elon Musk, after this clip was resurfaced, saying, oh yes, we are definitely getting the Epstein list, and Senate Democrat Judiciary Committee members now agreeing to release the Epstein list. I think there's an obvious reason why they've kept this list secret. There are huge problems for the Democrat Party inside of this list. Now, we have friends, little birdies, that tell us things. We're very, very close with members of Congress on these committees and various members of the administration. What we've heard so far is that this list is going to shock and destroy the political ecosystem and landscape as we know it. There are multiple people who will be going to prison. This cover-up is going to be the downfall of the permanent state. They worked hand in glove in order to keep Jeffrey Epstein alive and then to kill him when he got too dangerous. Now, why do we know that? Have a listen to Matt Gaetz on our program. This is when we, from a hurricane, so forgive sort of the rustique interview style here. But Matt Gaetz saying, no, Epstein was an intel op by a foreign power, and America let that foreign power kill him in jail. Here we go.
Why is the world's foremost pederast protected? This makes no sense. Like this is like evil, right? Like everyone agrees on. It's like you got a 99%
on Epstein. Issue. Bill Barr is the one that needs to be called in to give sworn testimony on what happened there at Bureau of Prisons, because that is not that. There's just no way that the story you're getting is the real story there. No freaking way, and Bill Barr knows it.
I think most people believe that, right? Like it's like no way that that's.
I actually think it was I actually think that on Epstein, it was a foreign government that took him out. I don't think it was a domestic enterprise.
Really?
I do. I'm not going to say which one, but I don't think it was domestic inspired to take out of him. I think that was a foreign operation, government sponsored.
So foreign operation took out Epstein inside of our prison.
Yes.
So they must have been allowed to.
Oh, I think it was in concert with people in our government.
Jeez.
But not at like some, low level guard getting bribed kind of way.
Yeah.
At a state to state level.
So that's probably a lot of partied interests in keeping that under wraps.
You better believe it. Weapons.
I wonder who wants this under wraps. If you ever want to find out who is lying to you, make them take a lie detector test. The reason why lie detector tests work is that the autonomic nervous system in most people respond the exact same way, with spiking blood pressure and an intense, sweaty flight or flight reaction. And you can register whether somebody's trying to hide something based on the inappropriate reactions to logical questions. When Hillary Clinton was asked about Jeffrey Epstein, in the single moment that I think Hillary was on camera actually asked about this by an activist named Alex Rosen, have a watch and see if you think that this reaction to this harmless activist who asked Hillary Clinton, hey, why has your husband been on Jeffrey Epstein's jet so many times? Why do the women on Jeffrey Epstein's island say that Bill Clinton was there? Why does Jeffrey Epstein say that Bill Clinton liked him young? Go ahead and check out the reaction here to this questioning and see if you believe that it is a little suspicious.
You want somebody who's going to get up every day.
Hey, Hillary, why's your husband visit Epstein Island 26 times?
See here, the activist, and by the way, this happens all the time, right? At a Trump event, somebody stands up and yells. Sometimes they become members of Congress, right? Rashida Tlaib, for instance, was politely walked out of a Trump event while she was screaming like a lunatic. You've never seen a leftist treated like this, ever. Ever in your life. Never in your life have you ever seen a dozen armed officers inside of the Secret Service and law enforcement rip the shirt off of a leftist protester, drag them out on their backs, kick them, assault them, shove them out of the building. You've never seen it before. It's almost like you struck a nerve here. It's almost like you asked exactly the right question that they never wanted to have asked. And so you keep asking the right questions, and you're going to find the truth. And this is something that we've been very excited about. It seems like just the announcement of this committee from Anna Paulina Luna has led to truth being revealed inside of our dark, shady, and very mysterious federal agencies. Anna Paulina Luna mentioning that they're going to be focusing on the JFK assassination. Obviously, the JFK assassination, the physics of it, are impossible. Anybody who's studied this, anybody who has just a cursory understanding of ballistics understands that there's just zero possibility that JFK was killed by a lone gunman in the school book depository, having to cycle his weapon with that style of firearm. It's just not possible. I mean, Lee Harvey Oswald himself having connections to the CIA, traveling to Cuba and Russia in the days before the assassination of JFK, screaming that he's a patsy, and then killed by Jack Ruby on camera for, like, no conceivable reason. Then Jack Ruby dying in prison under mysterious circumstances? No, man. It's dirty. Dirty as hell. Everybody knows it. Turns out the FBI just recently, after 61 years, decided to discover 2,400 documents about the JFK assassination that were never provided to a board that asked to review them. Wow. The still secret records are contained in a 14,000 pages of documents the FBI found in a review triggered by President Trump's January 23rd executive order demanding the release of all JFK records. The existence of new documents were disclosed on Friday to the White House when the Office of the Director of National Intelligence submitted a plan to disclose the assassination records under Trump's order. Well, well, well. The discovery of thousands of records on one of the most scrutinized events in U.S. history is likely to raise questions about the procedures for vetting and releasing information. You think? Ladies and gentlemen, you think? Oh, and by the way, that same government is still in total and complete operation, bringing you exciting moments like this. You don't have to go back to the Zapruder film to find damning evidence that the federal government wanted a president to die. All you have to do is look here, where an assassin, a zit-faced, cartoonish, creepy dweeb with long, greasy hair, was able to outsmart a law enforcement agency funded with billions of tax dollars, climb up on a rooftop in full view with a gun, with an AR-15, and then ended up taking 8 shots at President Trump. One of those shots, a successful head shot, meaning it hit him in the head. That's what the ear is. The ear is part of your head. President Trump was hit in the head by a bullet. Thank God, in the greatest miracle ever seen in humanity, he was saved. But it begs the question, why? How? What the literal F? If you watch some of the clips after this assassination attempt on Donald Trump, you'll realize that there is no real question as to whether it is malevolence or incompetence. It is just pure malevolence. Here, ladies and gentlemen, are the local law enforcement agents who should have been on that roof. Obviously, you put a law enforcement agent on that roof. There is no bad guy who takes a shot at Donald Trump. That just doesn't happen. You lock down that building. You stop this from happening altogether. Local law enforcement said, the Secret Service decided to just skip all security briefings here.
To get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened. So I think that was probably a pivotal point where I started thinking things were wrong, because that never happened, and we had no communication with the Secret Service.
You had no communication with the Secret Service at all on that Saturday?
Not until after the shooting.
And by then?
It was too late.
Listen, I'm all for the release of the JFK documents, okay? Don't get me wrong. This is something we've studied, something we're very interested in. Obviously, there are and Epstein documents, all of it, okay? Clearly, there is a fake government that operates outside of our government. Well, I mean, it's very real. It kills presidents. But it is unelected. It is a dark, unelected body that operates totally and wholly outside of the constitutional reins that were put upon our federal government. It is dark, it's evil, it's satanic. It openly attempts to ensure, through any means necessary, that it retains power. This is what President Trump is up against. There's one clip that makes me so enraged that my blood boils when I see it. The immediate aftermath of President Trump getting shot, the body camera footage. Watch this.
Did he have a weapon? Is he? That was the report. I thought you were on the roof. I thought it was you. I thought you guys were on the roof. Why were we not on the roof?
Football from a 16 to go somewhere over in the west coast.
Why weren't we? I'd say this is a up.
Sorry, not sure which gas company.
Somebody up.
This individual has been identified as the special agent in charge here for Butler. You can see his Secret Service pin and his Secret Service uniform. Notice how he talked about the dead Joe Biden donor in order to not offend them, calling him a shooter. This was the Secret Service under Joe Biden. They didn't want to use the wrong pronouns for the guy that just killed Corey Compertor. For the guy that just shot into a rally. Not just Corey Compertor. There were 5 members of the MAGA rally in Butler that were injured in bullets. President Trump, the single most famous man walking the earth today, a successful headshot, a bullet piercing Trump's head, the ears attached to the head. And here's the Secret Service agent making sure that he doesn't incorrectly identify the shooter by using air quotes. This was your Secret Service under Joe Biden. It's like they wanted Trump to die. And now in a bombshell clip that was just released on Piers Morgan's show, Tucker Carlson, who has impeccable federal sources, obviously, possibly no better connected single individual with the Trump administration, Tucker Carlson, saying, yeah, that was the goal. The goal of the Biden administration was to kill Trump.
I think that shooting, I hope that'll be examined. Because
what's happened with the investigation? We don't know anything about this kid.
Well, Piers, I don't know, because you're not from the United States. It's very common for assassins of presidents to have no motive at all.
Extraordinary.
And at the age of 20 to have no social media profile. He never went on the internet.
Nothing.
It's kind of weird.
No record at all.
Yeah, not at all. No cutlery in his own home. Advanced bomb making skills. Operating drones. Bringing rangefinder. Making a pretty great offhand shot at 150 yards under duress. It's just normal in America. I mean, the whole thing is so nuts, actually. The fact that the Secret Service allowed this to happen, which they did.
The guy's on the most. Oh, if I was running the Secret Service for the day, what's the first place you'd look? Oh, it would be the flat roof with a direct line on the stage.
You think? And there was not one agent positioned or assigned to look at that. None. They had no idea.
But why?
Well, because they wanted to kill Trump, obviously. The Biden administration wanted to kill Trump. I mean, there's no doubt.
Do you genuinely think?
Of course, I know that. And I know that by what I saw. In other words, if you leave your child inside a locked car on a hot day and go into a casino and spend 3 hours gambling and the kid suffocates, I can say, Piers, you killed your child. And you say, well, I didn't mean to. It doesn't matter. You didn't care enough about your child that you went back and rescued him from suffocation. It's demonstrable. Your intent can be divined from your actions. If you allow a roof 140, 30, 40 yards away to remain unsurveilled, a guy with a rangefinder and a drone to come into your area while the presidential candidate is speaking, you don't care about saving the life of that.
Classic. I mute myself, ladies and gentlemen, to ensure that we can hear all of the. I do this regularly. That we can. I mute myself to ensure that we can hear crisply the audio on longer clips. I don't want various knickknacks and bing bongs that happen inside of the studio to translate and even like the white noise. So I want to make sure that we hear Tucker Carlson crisply. That's why I mute myself, and sometimes I'm just too eager to jump on in. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. The expert class in these things are the ones who we depend on to actually understand what's going on. Tucker Carlson saying this based on prima facie observations, but then probably based on deep understanding that he's getting from inside of the Trump administration as to how the Secret Service operated. Remember, it's Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, who predicted to Trump's face that he would be assassinated. They said this a year before the assassination happened. And we remember it well. We were broadcasting live the night of the Fox News debate that Donald Trump was skipping, and he did a Tucker Carlson interview instead. Tucker looked him right in the face and said, you're going to be assassinated. These are the kind of people you have to listen to in times like these. Other people you should listen to, former Secret Service agents who are strong allies of President Trump, Dan Bongino, saying, no, this was clearly intentional. They wanted Trump to die.
I said, I want you to fake snow spray paint all of those windows so at least the shooter can't see.
Wow.
It would be a random shot. We don't want it, but at least you're not going to be able to rangefinder. Wow. They couldn't even put a campaign banner and block the line of sight for the guy with the biggest footprint in the world. So again, why didn't they block the line of sight? And second, why was he on the X anyway? The X is what we call in the Secret Service where the protectee is standing. If you're in a limo and a limo gets hit, the golden rule is you get him off the X.
Right.
Why was he even on the X? Cover, evacuate, or don't even bring him to the stage. There is no excuse for this. There should be mass resignations. People should be criminally investigated for what happened here.
Here we go. This is the moment, ladies and gentlemen, for truth. Who killed JFK? Who allowed President Trump to be shot in the face? Who's been hiding all the information about Jeffrey Epstein, protecting the pederasts, engaging in some of the darkest crimes humanly imaginable? Well, it certainly wasn't Donald Trump. Donald Trump's the guy who worked to prosecute Jeffrey Epstein. Who are the people who are running a totally unelected, dark layer of a government that sits over your elected government and actually makes all the rules? That's the heart of darkness. This is, of course, what Doge, Elon Musk, Donald Trump is starting to defund and starting to uncoil all of these blackened tentacles from. But it's the most important process that can possibly happen right now, today. Anna Paulina Luna and James Comer engaging in this. Also Tucker Carlson, the final clip I'll play here. Tucker Carlson, right before he was fired by Fox News. Tucker Carlson got fired by Fox News after doing this report. This was like 2 broadcasts before Tucker's firing. Tucker talked to the CIA, a source of the CIA. Now, a little reminder of the pedigree here. Tucker's father worked for the CIA. Surely, in the sort of nexus of events, Tucker would understand exactly who was pulling the strings here, or at the very least know who to contact. Tucker did, and they told him the truth about the CIA's involvement in JFK's assassination, but also a very chilling final line. You don't live in the country you think you live in. Everything's a lie. And it's time for those lies to be exposed, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be doing our best on this program to bring those lies quickly and speedily to you. It is our obligation to you. And so we'll end with this clip of Tucker Carlson. How do you know something's infected? When you press on it, it hurts. How do you know Tucker was over the target here? After doing this report, he was gone at Fox News. Over the target. This is the most important work in in America right now. And we're honored to be doing a very small part in it. Here's Tucker Carlson, ladies and gentlemen. See ya.
We decided to find out. We spoke to someone who had access to these still hidden CIA documents, a person who was deeply familiar with what they contain. We asked this person directly, did the CIA have a hand in the murder of John F. Kennedy, an American president? And here's the reply we received verbatim. Quote, the answer is yes. I believe they were involved. It's a whole different country from what we thought it was. It's all fake. It's hard to imagine a more jarring response than that. Again, this is not a, quote, conspiracy theorist that we spoke to. Not even close. This is someone with direct knowledge of the information that once again is being withheld from the American public. And the answer we received was unequivocal. Yes, the CIA was involved in the assassination of the president. Now, some people will not be surprised to hear that. They suspected it all along. But no matter how you feel about or what you thought about the Kennedy assassination, pause to consider what this means. It means that within the U.S. government, there are forces wholly beyond democratic control. These forces are more powerful than the elected officials that supposedly oversee them. These forces can affect election outcomes. They can even hide their complicity in the murder of an American president. In other words, they can do pretty much anything they want. They constitute a government within a government, mocking by their very existence the idea of democracy. As cynical as we have become after 30 years of watching government officials ignore the voters who employ them, we were shocked to learn this. It's not acceptable. Americans have trusted their government less with every passing year since the killing of John F. Kennedy. Maybe this is why. And people have known this for a long time. The people who knew would include every director of the CIA since November of 1963. And that list would include Obama's CIA director, John Brennan, one of the most sinister and dishonest figures in American life. That list would also include, we are sad to say, our friend Mike Pompeo.
Truth gon' be faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade with the warrior's heart. This man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade with the warrior's heart. This man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.